Resuming debate, reprise de débat, the honourable member from St. John's East.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I will be sharing my time with the member for Longueuil-Charlemagne.
I'm thankful for this opportunity to take part in this debate around Canada's future involvement in the coalition efforts to defeat ISIL in Iraq and Syria. There has been a great deal of debate in this chamber on how we should move forward. One thing we can all agree on is that it is an imperative that ISIL be defeated. It has also become increasingly clear that in order to overcome this challenge, we require a whole-of-government response that plays to Canada's strengths within the coalition. This involves the refocusing of our military contribution by increasing intelligence capabilities, by deploying CAF medical personnel, and by enhancing capacity-building efforts. The new Canadian mission will also seek to improve the living conditions of conflict-affected populations and to build the foundations for long-term regional stability. We will also invest significantly in humanitarian assistance, reinforce our diplomatic presence, and strengthen dialogue with local and international partners on the ground. Canada is already welcoming more Syrian refugees and will continue to do so. As you can see, this is not strictly a military issue. And this is exactly why the Prime Minister has announced a refocused approach, one that will involve the work of several departments. Madam Speaker, the only way to bring stability to the region is through a long-term, multi-pronged approach. This refocused mission will better target humanitarian assistance, stabilization, security, and development programming. As I mentioned earlier, it will also boost diplomatic efforts to the support of a political solution in this conflict. This change is not, as some have implied, a reduction from our previous contribution. It is a step forward. Canada fully intends to remain at the forefront of the international efforts to combat this grave threat. Over time, this refocused and sustained effort will set the conditions necessary to bring stability to the region. But we must be mindful of the fact that this will be a long-term effort. As the Minister of Defense said, recounting an observation made by an Iraqi commander, we are fighting the son of al-Qaeda. We must ensure that we aren't fighting the grandson of al-Qaeda as well. I contend, Madam Speaker, that the best way to stop this cycle of terrorism is through a meaningful, collective, holistic intervention that is effective now and over the long term. One of the ways in which we are refocusing our approach is through increased intelligence capabilities. This is an important development, Madam Speaker. Defense intelligence is an integral part of military operations and activities. It enables effective and informed decision-making by providing awareness and the ability to adjust to the security environment. If you know that your adversaries are planning to do something before they do it, you stand a better chance of being able to stop them. And this is why we have made enhanced intelligence capability part of Canada's refocused military contribution. We've come to understand that accurate intelligence allows for better situational awareness. Without that intelligence piece, the chances of success in this mission are limited. Whether it is information taken from the sensors of our CP-140 Auroras or from other sources, the more intelligence we have on ISIL's assets and their movements, the better off the coalition forces, including our own men and women in uniform, will be. Quality intelligence is needed on the ground, not only to inform the coalition where the next strike needs to happen, but also to identify where we should not go. It helps us define and prioritize targets. It helps us minimize civilian casualties. It allows us to track the enemy, know the situation, and anticipate and prevent the next move. This is particularly important now, given the current state of the campaign. After more than a year of coalition airstrikes, ISIL has lost most of its freedom of movement. They cannot hold positions or move equipment and fighters as openly as they once did. Instead, they have to disguise their movements, move over shorter distances, or under cover of the night. This means that windows of opportunities may be brief, and the coalition will have to move quickly to capitalize upon them. And since ISIL has been hiding among the civilian population to mask their presence, we must be prudent in our operations to minimize the risk of unintended civilian casualties and other collateral damage. This is why better intelligence capabilities are so critical, Madam Speaker. The cost of being wrong can be extremely high in lives, time, and tactical consequences. As a complement to our contribution, we are deploying additional Canadian Armed Forces officers to coalition headquarters to assist in targeting and intelligence. This is a complex and important process, and the Canadian Armed Forces is among the best in the world in this field. The targeting process is extremely important to us and to coalition partners as it helps reduce the harm to civilians and critical infrastructure and maximizes the coalition's ability to degrade ISIL's fighting capabilities. The coalition process works as follows. Targeting personnel need to A, identify the objective, for example, to prevent the movements of ISIL fighters to a city. B, select and prioritize potential targets that will achieve that effect. C, match the appropriate response to each target. D, act on the targets that have been identified. And E, finally, assess if the desired objective has been achieved. This system, the joint targeting cycle, is robust and it is a well-developed process. And our CFA personnel are well-trained and experienced in this process. And with this enhanced contribution to the targeting function, we will continue to support the coalition in its efforts to degrade ISIL's fighting capability. Madam Speaker, the Canadian Armed Forces contribution to peace and stability is well established, and Canada continues to be prepared to answer the call. But we need to keep in mind that there are many different elements involved in degrading and defeating ISIL. We need to remember that we are not alone in this fight. We are part of an international coalition, and that the real key to success is a complementary approach between all coalition partners. Canada has much to offer when it comes to overcoming the threat posed by ISIL. This combination of better intelligence and robust targeting will help the coalition quickly take advantage of fleeting opportunities. And because agility and adaptation are paramount in modern warfare, particularly against a determined enemy, it's a combination that is valued by our allies. Like our train, advise, and assist contribution, this is another way in which particular Canadian strengths can be used to help defeat ISIL. We want to put the best of Canada forward. This plan not only brings to the fight some of the core strengths of the Canadian Armed Forces, it meets the expectations of Canadians. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires. L'honorable député.
Honourable Member.
L'honorable député de.
The Honourable Member for Avignon-Le-Métis-Matane, Matapédia. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm surprised, the Conservatives, rather, are surprised that the CFA teens are being taken out of combat, although that was a commitment that we made during the campaign, and I'd like to thank my colleague for his brilliant intervention, and I'd like to hear his thoughts on the advantages of collaboration. We talked about the commitment with the coalition. I'd like to hear him speak about the benefits of collaborating with the coalition in such a situation as this. The Honourable Member for St. John's East.
Thank the Honourable Member for his questions about how improved collaboration between partners in the coalition will better serve Canada's purpose and indeed help us defeat ISIL more quickly. And I will say that this is one of the reasons why during the campaign and on the doorsteps in St. John's East, I would talk to people and say, you know, is this the best way for Canada to participate in the fight? And they were concerned that perhaps we were not acting on the best information, that the fight against ISIL in Iraq and Syria was too complicated. We didn't have the right intelligence resources to be engaged in it, and there were many articles in the news about improper bombing within the campaign. This improved collaboration allows other members of the coalition forces to take up more of the activity with the jets and the bombardment, and it allows Canada to focus on its areas of strength, including intelligence gathering and targeting. Thank you.
Questions and comments, questions et commentaires.